Hello everyone, today I myself Praveen. I am going to give a presentation on the topic water as a hazard. So, water as a hazard may cause a plenty of disabilities or problems in day-to-day human life, such as flood occurs, droughts, and to maintain this or to manage this, we come up with solutions such as flood management and getting to know how to use water in a proper way. What is flood? Flood is the overflowing of water, especially above its normal level, and cause problem to the fox. Flooding is the normal hydrological function. Due to floods, when floods occur, there is normal or very large loss of life, such as you can see in this picture. Like when a flood occurs, the people in living in that area are drawn down or something like or do, and then a flying operation is held in place so that it can rescue the people who are in trouble or who are suffering from their life loss. These list is the examples of flood that occurs in Canada with serious damage issues. First of all, the first flood that occurs in Canada with major damage was in 1984. The flood was occurred in Fraser Valley in British Columbia, and then it occurs in 1997, which occurs in Manitoba and damages 300 million thing. Then it occurs in 1950, same in Manitoba, and after that in 2009 Manitoba, and it damages 100 million cost. And then the last one, which with this damaging cost, occurs in southern Alberta in 2013. So how do floods happen? Floods normally happen when the water level exceeds the maximum limit in the oceans and rivers. Here is a video for that I have shown.
Look, Squeaks, it finally stopped raining. It's been raining here for a few days, and the news was saying that we might even get a flood. A flood is where there's water all over, even where there's usually land. Floods can be small and only cover a little space, or they can cover an entire city. Now that it's stopped raining, that probably won't happen here. But it is pretty weird to think about the ground suddenly being covered with water. Normally, when rain falls, the water can go a few places. The rain can fall into some place already holding water, like a lake or river. Or it can land on the ground, which soaks up the water like a sponge. But have you ever tried pouring water on a sponge for a while? Eventually, the sponge can't hold any more water, and it starts to drip. If too much rain falls too quickly, something similar happens with the ground. It becomes completely full of water. The lakes or rivers holding the water can also become too full and begin to overflow. If the ground is too wet to soak up the extra water, a flood starts to form, almost like a giant puddle. A normal puddle will slowly sink into the ground. But during a flood, there's nowhere for puddles to go, so they keep growing and growing. Sometimes the floodwater will cover roads, cars, and even buildings. Everything looks so different during a flood. It's like there's a new pond or lake. You can even see which areas are higher up in a town and which are lower. The high spaces stick out of the water like islands, and the low spaces get completely covered by the floodwaters. Even when the rain goes away, the floodwaters can take a long time to go back down, sometimes days or weeks. But eventually it soaks into the ground or evaporates and goes back into the air. Then the flood is over. Squeaks wants to know if you can explore a flood. That's a really good question. Floods aren't for exploring. Even though it looks like a big pond, a flood can be dangerous. As the flood water rises, it picks up everything it can along the ground. There can be tree branches, trash, and even cars hiding under the water. The water can also pick up germs and other things that can make people sick if they drink it, or sometimes if they touch it at all. It's definitely not a good place to go swimming. Squeaks wants to know, what should people do during a flood? Well, it's a lot like what people do for other big problems, like a hurricane or a tornado. They make sure to be prepared. Lots of people have an emergency kit with plenty of food, water, and other supplies to stay safe until the flood is over. Exactly! We keep an emergency kit in the fort's closet. If a flood did happen, we would stay inside as long as it was safe and make sure not to go too close to the water. In some places, especially near really big rivers or where it rains a lot, big floods can happen more often. People who live in places like that might have a special location, like a flood shelter to go to if there's a big flood. That way, they can stay out of the water if it gets too close to their homes. Luckily, floods don't happen very often near the fort, and this storm didn't cause one either. But I bet there are some good puddles outside. We should go do some splashing. Thanks for joining us. If you want to keep learning and having fun with Squeaks and me, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time here at the fort.
Okay, so this was the video which was showing how do floods happen and what to do when floods take place and how to avoid getting in contact with the water. So now there is a flood management thing too that occurs when there is a large amount of human loss in the flood. The present practice of flood management in Canada is characterized by at least three realities. First, it is impossible to provide absolute protection to people and communities. Second, a mix of structural and non-structural adjustments that cover the entire range of protection, warning, response, and recovery is needed to effectively protect lives and property. Third, the implementation of flood adjustments requires the effective practice of all the levels of government and the public safety. Now, what is droughts? A drought is a period of time when a particular area experiences the precipitation below its normal level due to inadequate amount of rain or snow that will diminish the flow of stream and also responsible for crop damage. Here is a picture of drought and how the earth or land looks when a drought occurs. There is all over the cracks in the land because there is no water at all. And this is the references pages. Thank you.